Welcome. This is the Debugging Dan podcast. I'm Dan, and I'm taking you with me on my morning walk where I share brain things, stuff that I think about. Today, I'd like to discuss the next level of AI agents that spun into my mind. So yesterday, I was talking with some colleagues about OpenCloud or Moltbot or CloudBot, but now it's called OpenCloud. And if you're not familiar, OpenCloud is a system where you can spin up autonomous AI agents and have them do things to you. You can give them tasks and see their progress via messaging connectors like Slack. You can add into a Discord. You can use Telegram or WhatsApp. You talk to them. They have to talk to you. You define a bunch of skills. You define a bunch of agents, and they communicate with each other. And they have access to the terminal, to web browsers. And it's all relatively new. And it's also a very big security risk. So people are buying Mac Minis, for example, so that they don't install OpenCloud on their own personal machine, but they install it on an isolated Mac Mini, or they install it on a VM somewhere, because there is a risk there. If you give the AI autonomous access, that it does things that you don't expect, and it goes out onto the big wild internet, and there it can search for information. But it's also possible that there are maliciously crafted websites there that do prompt injection, so that at some point inadvertently the bot starts sharing things because it thinks that the instructions that it got and the research that it did, they get mixed up. And it can then, for example, upload files from its workspace that is working on to some kind of remote machine, or download things, and then your machine gets infected. So that's a big security risk. And it has a big wow factor because it's cool to see the bot do something, or have it do a team of agents where one agent is the orchestrator, for example. And every bot is linked to an LLM, and they do things. So that's what I was talking about with colleagues, and that made me think, because you said OpenCloud, you set it up with a gateway, and the gateway is, now let's take a step back. OpenCloud is mostly a agent harness, and it facilitates connecting the bots with each other. So the real power still lies in the LLMs that take the input and generate output tokens. And OpenCloud is mostly an agent framework or harness that combines the different bots together, enables them to talk to each other, to browse the web, to run terminal commands, things like that. And so you need to set up a gateway, and you can set up bot instances, and they might run on the machine with the gateway itself. It could also run somewhere remote and have it access the gateway, and have it access the gateway remotely. And the gateway would then be, for example, listening on a public IP address, or preferably be in a virtual local network with tailscale, or connect to each other via Cloudflare tunnels, so that the traffic is internal and they would communicate with each other. And the setup, because of that, is not that easy. So you need to set up a server, you need to have it run the gateway, you need to, if you're using multiple machines, you need to set up multiple instances. you need to set up Tailscale or Cloudflare tunnels. Also, when the bots, you ask them to build something and they have it running on that local machine with a port, the bots then also need to wait, make it public. So that's a challenge there. And that got me thinking in how could you make that simpler? Then I was thinking about starting the agents with peer-to-peer technology. So peer-to-peer technology is a technique that has been around for a while. It started with Napster, for example, sharing audio without having a central server, but connecting as a node into a decentralized network and then communicating with other nodes and exchanging data. And that got me thinking that it could be easy to, when you just start an agent, would be just starting a process of having one process starting multiple agents where they join the decentralized peer-to-peer network and can then just communicate with each other over the peer-to-peer network. So there's no need to set up a private connection and things like that. But of course, the problem then shifts to knowing how to communicate with the bots that are part of its own installation, security, validation, things like that. But it also enables a new feature is that you could have your bots or agents talk to somebody else's agents. So now these agents in OpenCloud, they communicate using human tools. So they use email via web browser, for example, and that allows them to do things. But if you allow the agents to talk to each other, they could, for example, set up a calendar, a meeting in your calendar. So one agent knows that I've tasked to initiate a meeting with person X. Go to talk to his agent, and that agent, for example, knows the calendar, or it talks to one of its colleague agents that has knowledge of the calendar, and it can then get back to the other agent, all decentralized. And of course, if you're doing things like that, you need to know how to set up a trust relationship. So how do you know which agents belong to a certain person, things like that. But I think that an idea has been going through my head since yesterday when I spoke to the colleagues, that it could be interesting, could be fun to do something like that. And you then kind of have an entire army of agents doing things. And I believe there are already, well, not AI-powered systems as far as I know, but there are already systems that allow you to offer space on your machine, for example, like storage or compute, and have those machines connect to each other and give the ability to run tasks and things like that. But I think the powerful thing here is that could be a relatively small agent, and they could just ask each other things, give each other tasks, or even do function calling. So you could even have an agent that does not have an LLM configuration connected, but it knows how to find other agents. And it could just ask an agent, hey, I have this task. Could you feed that to your LLM and give me back the result? That could also be a possibility, or different tasks. So that's very, very interesting. I'm currently walking pretty windy section, so I hope the audio is still audible. I think that setup is powerful, and thinking about it, the affecting security mechanism lies mostly at the agent level. So agents should have a way to build a trust relationship with other agents, and that could be done, for example, by having the owner or person that sets up the bots list or present or provide a list of predefined trusted persons or entities whose bots are to be trusted. Or there could be a way to dynamically start building a trust relationship with bots. So you could, for example, it could be tasks that you talk to with another bot. You give the task and you get a response back. And then you could even have other bots, either bots you trust or just a random number of bots, ask to validate the response from that agent, give it a reliability or a trustworthiness score. And if that, for a repeated number of times, has a high score, or is even also manually validated by the owner, then the bot or agent gets to be trusted. So that's things that I'm thinking about. And as an owner, you could, for example, similar to mechanisms that PGP or domain validation currently works, you could have per agent identify you as the owner with a specific domain name, for example, and at that domain, the user is then required to have a file, p2p agents.txt, for example, that contains its public key, so that the agent in its task request can also include a signed string saying, hey, this is my owner, and I really know, I can really tell you that it's my owner because here I have a message that is signed using its private key, its private agent key, and you can check that using its public key because it's so you can really tell who it is because I have its keys. I've been doing a little bit of research already into the technologies, but I'm not familiar with how P2P really works, this system. I, of course, have a high level understanding of it. But I think from what I found now is that the underlying technologies are already existing and pretty sure. There's lib2p, lib2p, hybrid, for example. You, of course, have the DX tools network, which Ethernet has been built. Kadembia, and I think also validation for the security applications, the checking ownership. Those are all already existing things. I'm also encountering new terms like Sybil, just some kind of P2P attack. But I think it could be a fun thing to have a global network of big sphere connected agents that work together, either your own agents or other agents. You can even add some monetary incentives to it, like having agents that offer certain services in exchange for money. Could be crypto, could be something else. But that would also still be an option. Mostly I think about the concept of the thing. Having peer-to-peer agents, it should be easy to just launch them when you open up. You could have some of them running on a VPS. And when you open up your laptop, your other batch of agents launches until you shut down your laptop. They find each other instantly. And without having to set tunnels or other connectivity things, they just, they should just work. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to the podcast, give it a like, give it a comment, and then I'll talk to you next one. Bye.